Hello, hello, welcome to Mindset to Results. And today our guest is Aaron Novinger. He's very passionate about helping people, and he is professional financial advisor, and he also is known as the guy who peddles for Ponzi victims from Dallas to Washington, D.C., 2,000 miles, and he was in ministry. And let's speak today with Aaron and find out how he lives his life with fulfillment and how he found his
Mm.
purpose in life. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, Elena. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for being guest on our podcast show. I'm really happy to speak to you and learn from your life journey today.
Yeah, we were talking earlier in the green room about my years in ministry and starting my first business at 13 and just a lot of the life lessons that we've kind of learned throughout the years.
Yes, and also we spoke about how important is to find passion. And let's speak about this more. We have audience who are mostly driven business owners and entrepreneurs. And
Mm,
how is important to really do what you love to do? How to find passion so you don't think about uh, business as it is a job, something that you have just to do, but really something that inspires you and you serve people. You find what you can do
mm,
uniquely, differently from other people, how you can serve. And this is when you find this what makes your life fulfilled and you feel inspired all the time. So
mm.
tell us about your journey.
Yeah, that's a gosh, where do we start? So I would say finding the purpose and fulfillment, I would say we were kind of talking about this earlier. Um, in 2006, my mentor Lewis called me into ministry, and it was really through that experience that changed my life and really helped center me on where to focus. Where I would say before that point, my focus was money, and then after that point, my focus was more on people, and but it was more about what Lewis had told me. And so in 2006, Lewis had called me into ministry. He was my wife and I's young married pastor and had a small home church. And so Lewis was a registered nurse. He worked in the hospital during the week, and then he was in ministry on the weekend. And in 2006, Louis called me into ministry and said, you've got a calling on your life. And I said, Louis, that's not me. I'm a dirty dude. And he said, if everybody was clean, there'd be nobody in ministry. And so I said, well, look, I trust what you see in me more than what I see in myself. And that was really probably one of the most important life lessons that I did at that point was trust what he saw in me and lean to that. In 2009, I really was loving the ministry stuff. And so I took Louis to lunch and I said, Louis, I want to do more of the weekend stuff and less of running the practice. And what Louis told me completely changed my life. And Louis said, when I first got in ministry years ago, I was struggling with the same thing that you are. And he said, I took my mentor to lunch and he said, my mentor gave me the best definition of ministry I've ever heard. He said, don't think of ministry as in what you do in the church on the weekend. He said, first of all, Jesus did no ministering in the church. He said he was always with the people. He said, but think of ministry in its purest form as simply helping people suffer less. Helping people suffer less. And from that moment forward, I vowed everything that I did in my life would be about helping people suffer less. And to the point of your show, that's the whole point of your show is to hear other people's stories. What successes do they have? What failures do they have? Let's help educate other entrepreneurs and business owners and people that want to be successful and help them get to their goals faster without making all these mistakes. Your whole show is about helping people suffer less. And so that's really kind of been the goal for me all these years is really for the last 15, almost 20 years is every day I get to wake up with this sole purpose of helping people just kind of get through life and get through their day a little easier. And if you can do that, I think that that right there solves so many problems. And by the way, there's so many things that we do right now that we do it for the money. But if we just did the reframe and did it for the purpose rather than the money, that alone will give you, because think about it. Think about if you owned a restaurant, right? You know that what you do is help people suffer less. People come to see you because you make delicious food, and they know that they can kind of escape for a few minutes by coming and experiencing what you have, your environment, your food, how it tastes, the customer service, what makes you unique. And what you do is helping people every day. They come to you. You get to make their day a little bit better. And the byproduct is making money. And I think that's probably, Elena, probably the biggest life lesson is, and I spent most of my life studying the business greats, the titans, the guys that rewrote history, mainly John D. Rockefeller. So I've read the Titan cover to cover multiple times. I've studied him mainly more than probably than any other titans. And the thing you'll realize about the titans, they were rich before they rewrote history. They never did it for the money. Look at Sam Walton, okay, with Walmart. He was driving his F-100 pickup until the day he died with his overalls. Didn't care about the money. John D. Rockefeller was already rich with import and export before he started Standard Oil. Like you see these people, Henry Ford just wanted the working class to have affordable automobiles. It was all about taking care of the people. And what ended up happening, like with John D. Rockefeller, he was famous for saying, those that want to be rich never will be. Money only follows contribution. How many customers are you taking care of? That's what dictates money. And if you're doing what you're doing for a paycheck, go find something else to do, man. Go. There's lots of other. Go get a job. Go do something else. But if you really want the fulfillment, because you got to remember, you've got two sources. You've got a rice cake and you have a steak. Okay, so um, doing things for money, doing things to swipe right, swipe up, the little dopamine releases, that's like eating a rice cake. It's little tiny dopamine releases that trigger, fleeting moments of happiness. But what gives you the fulfillment of never wanting that is waking up every day with a purpose and helping people suffer less. I can't think of a better purpose to wake up to every day. And we were talking about this in the green room about what, in my view, is probably one of the biggest issues we're dealing with my generation, so Gen X, and then those younger than us. So the millennials, Gen Zs, and the Gen Alphas, okay? That I don't think that our parents or our grandparents or any generation before us ever struggled with. And it comes down to one word: purpose. Purpose, right? Not passion, not fulfillment, not happiness, purpose. And this was a few years ago. I was listening to a quote, and it was between Shia LaBeouf, and he was talking about a conversation he had with this therapist. And he was asking his therapist, "Do you think I'm ever going to be happy again?" And his therapist said, "I don't think that's the goal we need to have for you. I don't think we need to find happiness for you. What's going to fix you and help you is finding purpose. I think purpose is what's going to save you." That's what we're dealing with today, is a purpose crisis that we've never had. Your grandparents, my parents, by the time they were in their 20s, they were married with a career and usually one or two kids. Like, they had a reason to get up every day that was bigger than themselves. That's what the secret is, man. Elena, it's not hard. Why do you get up every day? What's the reason you get up every day? What's the reason your listeners get up every day? That's, in my opinion, probably the best way to find fulfillment, purpose, you know, is really by helping people every day suffer less. I don't know if you can find something more meaningful in life, you know?
Yeah, it all comes to the essence of our being. Yeah, we were not created to work for money. We were not created for that. We were created to become who we're meant to be and how to serve others. And this is how the whole community is built. Yes, when we serve to others and others serve us. Yes, so this is like equal exchange of values. And
Mm-hmm.
when people find their uniqueness and how they can serve, this is how their why comes. They know why they want to do it, and
Mm.
also how they can be very good in this, because this is their unique advantage or unique strength, yes, in the market. And when they find what is unique about them that they love to do and have that passion, because I think that you can fulfill the purpose with living with passion. Yes, purpose is very connected to your strength and what you love to do. And when you are in your zone, yeah, in that flow, when you found what your strength, what is your purpose, what you love to do, and when you do this, it makes your life fulfilled. So this is all like
Yeah.
elements of the same puzzle. And everything starts from studying yourself, understanding who you really are, like
Hmm.
what you have, what big potential is um, there to discover. Yeah, because we are not just our bodies, we are just not our physical hand and head and legs, right? We are much more, and we have our mind, which is much bigger than our body, and our body is just the instrument of the mind. So
Mm.
when we start living from that spiritual part of us, yes, and use our body for doing those tasks which our
Mm.
mind sees, and that big vision which we have, it will be fulfilled life. But when people just live their physical body just based on what they see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and
Mm.
make decision, this is how they just are in that hustle and just everyday struggle.
Mm. That's a really good perspective. And I'll tell you, to your point, I'll tell you a story that is so relevant to what you were just talking about with talent and your gifts. And it goes back about 15 years ago. I was in Toastmasters, and Toastmasters is a phenomenal organization to help people work on their public speaking. And I've always been the guy that I lean toward the things that I'm petrified of. So I hate heights, so I went skydiving. I'm petrified of speaking in front of people, so I joined Toastmasters. And so um, when I was in Toastmasters, I had the honor of being the club president for 2 terms. And one of those terms, Toastmasters International paid to have John Maxwell on a 1 hour conference call with only the club presidents from all over the world. So there was thousands of people on this call. And John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors, speakers, trainers, coaches for like executive development. But he started off as a pastor in his 20s. And one of the things that, and on this conference call, he said something that was so profound, it changed my life. And what he said is when he first got into ministry, his dad put his hands on his shoulders. So just imagine, put his hands on his shoulders and said, John, I know you think your goal is to preach a really good message on Sunday. He said, but that's not your job. He said, your job is to imagine. He said, your job is to see every person in your congregation and see an imaginary 10 on their forehead. Your job's to find out what they're a 10 in and put them to work in that. And then I was like, wait a minute. That was literally the mission and ministry of Jesus, was to find people's gifts, to call it out of them,
Mhm.
and to say, hey, look, stop doing that. Let's go do something great together. I know what you're capable of doing. And he would just turn them loose. And what we've seen, to your point, Elena, is God is doing miracles every day, but they're not like the miracles that you read about in the Bible, like parting the Red Sea or turning water into wine. It's not like that. 99% of the miracles are miracles of provision, where God shows up every day, but brings and puts people in your life to be a miracle for you. So when he sent the disciples out 2 by 2, he said, take nothing, nothing. You will watch my dad provide everything you need through miracles of provision. So, to your point, in business, you can't do anything great without a great team. God brings you the people, the talent. He will give you the purpose. He will give you the team. He will give you the greatness. But usually that comes later. Oftentimes, the way it works, this is the way it is in my life. I'll get the vision, and I have to wait for the provision, like how it's supposed to happen. That always comes later. I never know how this is supposed to happen. Like this charity bike ride that I was telling you about. it, that was just a crazy idea that I had. I had no idea how I was supposed to do that. And mind you, I've done quite a few like long distance endurance events. I'm kind of a psychopath when it comes to that stuff. So like I swam my very first mile when I was 8 years old. I've done lots of endurance events, riding my bike over 100 miles, 150 miles. That stuff is like, that's not a big deal to me. But what is I had this idea, and when I'm about to tell you this story, you won't even believe it. Okay. I'm hanging out with one of my buddies, and he was telling me about how every year, tens of thousands of guys on motorcycles ride their motorcycles into Washington, D.C. for Memorial Day weekend. Okay. And tens of thousands of them. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to be going probably in the next year or so. Again, I went a couple years ago. And as he's telling me this, I have this crazy idea. What if I ride my bicycle from Dallas to Washington, D.C., and I show up on Memorial Day of that year? Was that it? Would actually it was the following year. He was telling me like June or July of like 2023, and I was going to do it for Memorial Day of 2024, which was last year. But I had no idea how to do this. Okay, so I have an idea, a vision, but no idea how to pull it off. I don't have the provision. So what I do is the very next week I'm on the phone with my executive coach Lauren, okay? And if you can't tell, I have crazy ADD. So everything in my life is like a pile of clothes. And so I have to every day, like, what do I do with these jeans, or what do I do with this task? And sometimes I get so overwhelmed, I have to bring in an executive coach to help me sort all of the tasks that I have to do. And so I was visiting with Lauren that next week, and I said, Lauren, quick question. I said, I've got this crazy idea. I'm going to run it by you. Just give me your thoughts. He goes, okay, cool. And I said, I think I'm supposed to ride my bicycle from Dallas to DC for victims of these financial crimes because you mentioned in the very beginning that I'm a financial expert. I'm a retirement planning expert. I don't really know investments. I know retirement planning and how to build and architect plans. And so, and I work closely with financial advisors. And so I'd work with closely with these guys, great friends of mine, who they and a couple of their clients got caught up in a Ponzi scheme, and I saw the devastation that happened to their clients and to them themselves. And I literally have thought for years that somebody has to do something to help these people and to raise a flag and to basically give voice to the voiceless. And so that's where this idea came from. And so I have this idea. I'm supposed to ride my bicycle from Dallas to DC. The next week, I'm on the phone with Lauren, my executive coach, and I tell Lauren, I've got this idea. I'm going to ride my bike from Dallas to DC. And Lauren says, well, I have a friend of mine who did the same thing a couple years ago, where she rode her bicycle from California to New York to raise fundraising and awareness for diabetes. And she actually got on the Dr. Oz show. And if you want, I can connect you. And I was like, what? Elena, there's only a couple people on planet Earth that have done something like this. Okay, you got to understand, this is not something very many people have done. Then to do this on a bicycle, where a lot of people will walk, they'll swim, they'll do crazy other things. This is bike. And to get a lot of attention for a cause, she did it all. And I said, Lauren, well, where does she live? And she goes, oh, she lives in Fort Worth. I was like, huh? Like my town? What? And so she goes, I'll connect you. And so the next week I was on the phone with Tracy,
Mm.
and I'm not kidding, Elena. The very first thing I said to Tracy, because I kind of figured I would, everything else I felt pretty comfortable about that I'd be ready, but I was really, really scared of the training. And because I knew that when I normally train for like 120, 150-mile bike ride, that's usually about 5 months of training for one day of pedaling 100 miles. But this is like every day pedaling 100 miles. And so I'm very fearful of this. And I go to Tracy and I say, Tracy, um, I'm petrified. I'm having panic attacks. I have to know what I need to do for training. And this was like 9 or 10 months before the event. And this is what she says to me. What training? And I was like, I'm sorry. Clearly you're joking. And she goes, no, no. What training? And she said, I'm diabetic. And so I have to exercise every day to stay alive. And she said, but let me ask you something. When you were 12 years old and your parents, because when we were all growing up, our parents would kick us out of the house on a Saturday morning and make us go play all day long. And so she said, so when you were 12 years old and you would go ride your bike all day Saturday, how much training did you need for that? And I was like, well, none. And she goes, exactly. This is just a Saturday morning bike ride. And I was like, whoa, whoa. And I'll tell you, that reframe, she said, you'll see every day when you wake up, especially in the beginning of the ride, and it's true, it's very overwhelming. But she said, just look in the mirror every day and remind yourself, today's just a Saturday morning bike ride. This is not a race. When I get tired, I'm done. And so, but the crazy thing is I'm also getting my pilot's license. And so I've got my check ride scheduled for this coming up Monday. And there's been so many times where I've come in for like gnarly crosswind landings or I'm learning a new skill and I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I just hear Tracy say, it's just a Saturday morning bike ride. And I'm not kidding, Elena. Like every day that I get in these places where I feel overwhelmed, that little mental reframe that she told me has walked me off of the ledge so many times and walked me from a panic attack so many times. It's one of the most probably profound things that she ever said. And I'm actually writing a book on kind of my life and about how everything that I've overcome. I'm calling it, it's a Saturday morning bike ride because that's the secret to everything, man. It's the secret to everything is your mental attitude toward whatever you want to do. Like, first of all, you look really young. So you probably don't remember the 80s like I do. Okay. But in the 80s, 3D movies had just come out. And we would have these 3D glasses, okay? And when you saw the 3D glasses from the 80s, there was like one of the lenses was red, like literally like the color of your shawl, and the other one was like blue, okay? That is literally how life is. And people do not get this, okay? How your attitude toward what you're experiencing dictates your success in life. Very much like Earl Nightingale talks about in The Strangest Secret, right? What you think about most of the day, you become. It's like the law of gravity. You jump off a building, you never go up, you always go down. It's the same thing with what you think about most of the day. And I'm telling you, man, this attitude of mind is quite literally probably the most important thing that you could have because I was raised and you were raised, most of us were raised by our moms, not by our dads. Most of us had dads that just worked their butts off. And when they weren't working their butts off, they were usually at home sitting around their underwear watching TV or reading. Like my dad worked 100 miles an hour and then would just sit in his underwear and watch TV, like nothing else. Okay. So my dad was like barely around, but he taught me the important life lessons like the value of hard work, the value of a dollar, like the value of borrowing something and returning it in better condition. All the important stuff came from pops. Respect everybody, especially your mom, or pay the price. Like it was like so much of those lessons were for him, but my attitude toward life came from my mom. Okay, where my mom was raised by amazing parents, my grandparents, who are my heroes, where they kind of had the idea of whatever you want to do, just go do it. So being raised by a mom who by age 10, all of us siblings were fully independent, ironing, doing our own clothes, making meals, like fully self-sufficient. By age 12, you could literally take any one of us siblings, blindfold us, drop us anywhere in the United States, take off the blindfold. We can get home. And not only that, it's going to be an adventure. That attitude of mind, of having a mindset of, I don't know, things just tend to work out in my favor. Having that mindset, man, it's the secret to everything. It's how you manifest everything. It's when you've decided, no, 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 I'm going to do this, come hell or high water. I always say, whenever Aaron's decided something, it's going to happen unless I'm D or C, dead or in a coma. Period. You have to have that mindset. Like remember back in history when we were in elementary and middle school, we studied all the great explorers from the day. Well, you will remember us studying the great explorer Cortez. Cortez was famous for landing and then ordering his men to burn the ships. And his mindset was either we conquer or we get conquered, but there is no retreat. So in business, the thing you got to understand about business is there's no such thing as checkmate in business. It doesn't exist. There's always a next move if you look at the chessboard long enough. There's always a next move. But do you have the resilience to continue the fight? That's the thing. You know, people don't understand that resistance by its nature is designed to weed out the weak. If you're just doing this for money, go find something else to do. And to your point, Elena, if you can focus on something that gives you purpose, that where you have a natural bend to help people suffer less, and whatever that is, and you're able to assign a belief behind it. You've heard of Richard Branson, right? Okay, most famous CEOs, one of the most famous uh, brand builders creating one of the most successful brands on planet Earth, and that's the Virgin brand. And I keep this on my phone as a direct quote from Richard Branson because somebody had asked him one time, "How do you just continue to build these blockbuster companies?" And he said, "Ready for this?" He said his secret to building billion-dollar companies is three things. He said, "As a CEO, I have to focus on only three things. Number one, craft the vision for how you're going to change the world and make it crystal clear." Okay. The Elon Musk philosophy, the Richard Branson philosophy, the John D. Rockefeller philosophy, the Sam Walton philosophy, the Henry Ford philosophy. Okay. Number two, and apologize for my French here, but this is his quote. Okay. Number two, find the best goddamn people in the world to go and execute on that vision, sell them on that vision, and find people to get excited about what you're doing. That's number two. Number three, give them the resources to do their job better than anyone else in the world and get the hell out of their way. That is the secret, man. Do that. And luckily for me, for the last 15 years, I wake up every day and, like Warren Buffett says, I get to tap dance to work. I get to help people every day, engineer plans, architect plans. I do consulting. I feel like a doctor. Every day I wake up and I feel like I get to basically listen, diagnose, write a prescription, and help people suffer less. So in a weird way, because when I was very young, I wanted to be a doctor, um, to help people, and I get to do that every day. I think if you, as somebody that's running a business, or start, don't even think business, okay, you know that you can find fulfillment in having a job, right? Jeff Bezos talks about this. Most people have a job, meaning they just work for a paycheck. Okay, fewer people have a career, and then every once in a while, when you find out your gifts and talents, you'll find your calling. Once you find your calling, you'll work 12 hours a day, but it doesn't feel like work because you're doing what you love doing. You're doing, every person on the planet has the same basic primal needs, the same basic primal needs. They wanted to be needed, appreciated, and valued. We call it being noved, right? Everybody wants that. Well, what's the best way to help a team member feel noved? Find their imaginary 10 on their forehead, find out what they're great in, and turn them loose in that. Is that not what Richard Branson just said? Craft a strong message that changes the world, find the best people to do that, and then give them all the resources they need to do that better than anybody else. Come on, bro. It's not hard. Meaning, saying that's not hard. Doing it, it's the most difficult thing you could ever do. I've spent my entire career, literally, I read almost 1,000 books, 80% of them business, organization, culture related. It's a lifetime of learning just to learn how to lead well. Just that one skill, let alone the accounting, the sales and marketing, the IT, the HR piece of it, the logistics piece of it. Like, bro, it's overwhelming. And that's why anytime you see somebody that's from an idea started something and turned it into a powerhouse, that's a very unique person. Most people are either the entrepreneur where they start things, or they're the person that runs things. They don't start. To find somebody that can start it and turn it into, like, think of like an Elon Musk, a Mark Zuckerberg, a Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. These guys that start an idea and turn it into this huge thing. Those are very unique people, and but they found out their gifts and talents. And Bill Gates was famous for saying this. He would say, "Do what you do best, and then hire out the rest." Right? So it's not difficult, man. It's just, what do you love doing? Okay, cool. Let's just do more of that. And then worry about money later. Money will follow, I promise. If you get really, really good at something, trust me, the universe finds a way for you to figure out how to monetize it. I'm just telling you, man. And I'm not a religious dude. I'm very spiritual, but you have to know how this world works. And God is constantly bringing you what you want, but you got to ask a certain way. You have to be fully committed to the idea. It can't be a want. You have already have had to decide this is what you're going to do. Then the universe starts moving to make that happen. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, that's a little bit kind of on fulfillment and purpose, and helping people just find that. Because if you can find that, and then you can figure out how to get paid, come on, man. Like, that's the secret to life. I'm just telling you. and it's not making $1 million a year. It's just not. Making a ton of money has so little value and has so little substance that, in my opinion, it's one of the most despicable things people can do is searching to acquire money for money's sake. And it's one of the least fulfilling things you could ever do. You're always going to be hungry to buy the next thing if that's what you're after. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, Aaron, I really enjoyed what you said and it resonated with me. And I just was thinking that it is really as a miracle because today I was listening exact this video from Napoleon Hill about finding your calling. And what
Wow.
now it was just like you can't believe it is like word by word what Napoleon
No
Hill.
way.
And I am just listening to you and I'm amazed like echo of what I was listening today exactly step by step, and everything you said really like just like diamonds, like pieces of such a valuable
Mm,
knowledge and wisdom. And I really recommend everyone who listening to this video listen it for many times because every time
mm,
you listen this episode you will find something more. And I really wanted to address something. First, I really want to acknowledge you for your decision which you made to run by bike 2000 miles.
mm,
Yes, in like 50, you are in 50. So it is not a joke. And as you said, you had also diabetes. So it is a big decision, but let's see how you made the decision. You made this decision as successful people make decision. You just decided. You just
that's
decided
right.
this is what I'm going to do. First, you made decision, and then you started figuring out what steps you have to take to succeed. And this is exactly how people become successful. They take irrevocable, committed decision. Yes, they take this.
Hmm.
This is what I'm going to do, and you don't change it. You don't change
That's
it.
right.
I don't feel well today, maybe I shouldn't do that. No, once you make decision, you're already there. Yes, and as you said,
Mm,
you just spend longer time on the chessboard to find the way, and more time you thinking about the next step, it will be shown to you. Yes, and again, it is believe in yourself and having that faith that universe will provide everything what you need. And you see this came
mm,
through your mentor who believed in you. How important to have people
mm,
who believe in you more than yourself. Yes,
mm,
sometimes we don't believe in ourselves as other people can see us and see our potential even bigger than what we can
mm,
see. And how important is to have these people in our lives, because when it is really hard, yes, we make decision, we have that vision, but we sometimes really don't feel that we are strong enough. Yes, we want to do that, but we sometimes feel, Am I really strong enough? Am I really enough for that big vision?"
mm,
This time we need somebody who just holds our hand and say us, yes, you can do it. I believe in you. And we borrow their belief. And this is how we go together and we go do first step and second step. And this is how success
mm.
build. Yes, as you said, that all people who really impacted the world, they didn't know how they would do that. They just made decision and then they
Yeah.
figure out how to do that. And again, from Richard Branson, you shared your favorite quote, and another also very famous quote from him is that when somebody offers you to do, when you find or somebody offers you a great opportunity, say yes, and then figure it out how you are going to do it.
That's right. That's literally how Bill Gates, when he started Microsoft, he did not actually own the software. He went and sold the concept. He heard of a guy that wrote this software that you could control with the mouse, and he heard of a guy that had the software, and he took a meeting with IBM, no, Xerox, and sold them and licensed the software to them and didn't even own it. And then figured it out. He got the contract and then figured out how to go buy the licensing rights from the guy over here. That's the key is you've got to figure that out. And then to your point, you can't deviate from the plan. And I think that's probably one of my greatest strengths is just my perseverance where um, really a couple things. Whenever I've decided something, It happens. Period in a story. I have a very, very good track record of doing big, impossible things because once I've set my mind on it, it's set. And the next most important thing that I would attribute my success to would be, and again, this is all stuff that you would hear Rockefeller say the same thing, but would be my ability to inspire other people's belief in me. So my ability to inspire somebody else's belief in my vision, that's probably what I owe, is being able to inspire a great team of people, you know, that have the same vision that you do. Um, and I think that for as for me, having that clear understanding of, and also another big thing, and you brought this up specifically about knowing what to start and how to start. If you have like an engineer's mind wants to figure everything out and figure out A to Z, and you never can and you never will. That's not how it works when you get these visions. It's like a door gets cracked an inch at a time. You don't have any idea what it looks like with the door swung wide open, and you're not supposed to. Okay. Your job is supposed to just trust the inch that you see each time. But the crazy thing that happens is that once you start doing it and you don't worry about A to Z, but you obsess over A to E, the next few steps, everything that we do every day, you getting in the car to go to the store or building a rocket to the moon, is nothing but a series of small next steps. To get to the moon is just a few extra next steps. Everything we do is a series of next steps. So in business, I always use this example. I push the pile of metal off the cliff and I start building the airplane as it's falling. I'll do the next few steps because if you try to do it all, you'll never build an airplane. You just won't. You'll never have it all figured out. So there has to be that level of trust and faith that what you're doing and what I always say, the litmus test is not the money. If it's purely for the money, meaning this question, if what you're doing, would you do it for free? Would you do what you're doing for free? Like people that are like in real estate and they love selling real estate. Yeah, they love selling real estate for the money. Ask every single successful real estate agent, would you sell real estate if you didn't get paid? They would all say, hell no, no. I'm just really good at my job and career. Agreed. That is not the same thing. This is the purpose project, right? This is the thing that I've had the amazing blessing of not having to work for the last 10 or 15 years, and being a retirement planner, you understand my definition of retirement is different than most people's, where one of the worst things that you can do is actually pick a day on the calendar and then stop using your brain, stop working, stop communicating and communing with people. The worst thing you could do to the body is to go buy 10 acres by the lake. That neighbor's a mile away, that neighbor's a mile away. You're sipping lemonade on a rocking chair in the back porch. It's not within a few years your brain starts going. So I've always said that retirement is about picking a day on the calendar, and from that day forward, you're working because you want to, not because you have to. But you will work. You need to work, right? So that's kind of the same thing with this. If you can find that purpose project and then you can make money from it, bro, you're retired. You're doing something that is your calling. If you can do your calling, you're what, in the top 1% of all people, maybe less than 1% are doing their calling. And it has nothing to do with making money. Nothing to do with making money. Isn't that crazy?
On the other hand, when you do what you love to do and what is your calling, you will also compensate it by the law.
Get paid. You do.
Yes, another thing that I wanted to also to share that why the vision is important.
Mm. You know,
That
isn't that what sells it to the team? Right? So, like, to me, the greatness of your team is equal to the greatness of your vision. Okay. So, I don't know. I've just always like been a part of these big projects. So, like for me right now, this is what I'm working on. What we do with the accounting office and the accounting firm, and we spend half of our time consulting with our business owners, and our only job is to help take the weight off of their shoulders, help them suffer less. So we just teach, we consult, we budget. Our secret for 50 plus years has always been, for us to be here 20 years from now, they still have to be here 20 years from now. They come first. So that's easy to get behind that. Okay, so that's an easy heart project. And then I've got the charity bike ride. Well, that's an easy heart project. I mean, helping people that have had their life savings stolen from them, and to sit across the table from these people and watch the devastation and watch the illnesses and the sicknesses and the disease, and the medications that have to be taken because of the suffering that's happening. You can't sit and see it and not want to help. And then when I get back from the bike ride, then the church that I started years ago, we're going to get started on that. And it's like, it's not difficult. Elon Musk was asked a couple years ago, like a reporter asked, where does the motivation come from? Well, if your mindset is that of Richard Branson, where you want to basically craft a vision that changes the world, you don't need motivation. And that's what Elon Musk said. He goes, there's no motivation. It's either we do or die trying. It's either we figure out sustainable energy because eventually the oil is going to run out. It's either we figure out sustainable interplanetary life, or we're going to get hit by a comet. There's going to be the reversal of the poles. We have to figure this out now. We have no choice to make it as a society and a civilization. So if you can have big projects like that, like helping save small business, like helping victims of financial crimes, it's weird, but you get great team members that come out of the woodwork that have these specialties and expertise in helping you accomplish this great vision. Does that make sense?
Yes, and also, yes, exactly. And also, when you have that big vision, it is not even about the vision itself. It is about who you become when you go for that vision. Yes, because to get something, you grow every time. Because when you start with
Mm,
any idea, but then when you go and take steps, then you look back and you see that you're a totally different person, right?
mm,
Like this big vision helps us to grow, and bigger the vision is, faster we will grow, because we want to achieve that, and we don't achieve anything who we are not, right?
mm,
So we have to grow to match our goals, and this is the most important thing in life, to grow and become that person who matches and is aligned with that big vision. Yeah,
mm,
when we look back even 1 year before, yes, like don't compare even ourselves. Yeah, we look 1 year ago who we were, and we say, Was that me?" So now I'm different person. I think different. I feel different. I act different. Now it is my reality is different, and this is
mm,
evolve, and how we raise in our awareness. Yes, how we expand our consciousness. We vibrate different, and more we grow, more further we can see the horizon. Yes,
mm,
we understand that more is possible. We have this ability to see even bigger picture, because every time when we come to horizons which we see from now on, then we can see the bigger picture, yes, which is from there
mm,
further. And this is how the growth happens, and this is why it is so important to have big vision, because this is what inspires us. Yes, we don't need motivation,
mm.
because motivation, it is something from outside that we don't need.
That's right.
Somebody wants to us to motivate to do something which we don't need to do and don't even want. But inspiration is that what really makes us move forward. When we wake up inspired, and we wake up inspired only when we have that big vision, because this is how we want to live, and we this is why we want to live. Yes, this is what makes us do things which other people think impossible. Yes, and we can think it is impossible, but believing in then and making decision to make it possible, this is how the everything changes.
It's so um, profound that you said that, because I was thinking about a Warren Buffett quote, because he's famous for saying this. We can become anyone or anything that we want. So just start acting in the manner that you want to become. And he talks about the chains of habit are too light to be felt in the beginning until they're too heavy to be broken. And so the whole idea is routine is the key, and consistency of the routine will set you free. And to your point, who is that person that you want to be? What is it that you've wanted? How do you see yourself? And every day pushing, there's it's one of my favorite Latin phrases is ventilabis lapidem, which means push the stones. And I've got on my phone. It's like a picture. It's just this guy pushing a boulder up this hill, and that's really the key: is push the stone 3 inches a day. That's it. But you will look back over the course of a year and then years, and realize, to what the quote from Warren Buffett, the chains are now too heavy to be broken of habit. When I was telling you before about how it was so hard for me 20 years ago to develop my morning routine, that now, are you kidding? There's no way. It's impossible for me not to do my routine. I'm up every morning, the same routine. I've got me time. I brew my coffee. I sit in the same place. Like, I've got the same blanket. I've got the same routine. And now I can't wait to do it, and that now is so ingrained in me that it's now, I call them behavior canyons. So everything that we do is digging little dirts, little trails in the dirt. Everything we do that we repeat, we're digging a little deeper in the dirt, a little deeper in the dirt. But eventually, good or bad, you're going to end up creating a behavior canyon. And the problem is, the longer you do that behavior, the harder it is to change it. And that's why you've got to be so conscious and self-aware of your limitations and what you're good at, what you're not good at. Because if you're not, and you don't have a handle on it, you will have created so many bad behavior canyons that it's basically impossible, unless you have a Damascus Road experience. It's basically impossible for you to change who you are, because you've been doing it that way for too long. It takes that long, because if you've been doing the same pattern of behavior, and this is a biggie for people that want to start a business, or people that are like, why is it that this person just always, everything they touch is turns to gold, and I just always have this gray cloud over my head? No, you don't. And no, they don't. That person is used to doing things they know they need to do to achieve what they want to achieve. And this person is used to listening to their emotions. And when their emotions say, I don't want to do it, they don't do it. This person does what they need to do regardless of how they feel. This person does what they feel like doing, and that person always wins. That's why you have to be so careful about that. You know, which of these two people do you feed? This 2 inch version of you over here that tells you need to do this because this is what you want to do. This is your goals. This is your dreams. This is what you're going to be looking. This is what you'll look like in 20 years. But this over here, this 2 inch version over here, this is the fraternity sorority version of you that just wants to party and drink, and they don't care, and all they want to do is sabotage you. The problem is, which of these two are you feeding? That's the reason why I take cold showers. I will not touch cold or hot water. I have not taken a hot shower in 10 years, and I refuse to touch hot water because of the mental fortitude and resilience that I have to accomplishing difficult things. I've been sober from alcohol for 15 years, and I've been sober from hot water for 10 years. I will go back to drinking alcohol before I go back to touching hot water again. That's how important it is that every day you wake up with the mental fortitude of saying, yeah, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it. And I don't care how I feel. This will happen. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, it's such a great mental gym. Yes, mental gym. You just decide what you do and you train your mental muscles to do what is uncomfortable. Because this is again what makes people successful. This is their willingness to do what is uncomfortable, but what
Mm.
that they bring them to the results. And this is the difference between being interested to do something and being committed. Because
And deciding. That's
yeah,
right. That's
yes,
right.
when you're committed, you will decide and you will stay on that decision.
Well,
But if
you know what you just said about being uncomfortable? That actually came from a TED talk that I had watched about 11 years ago from a guy named Joel Runyon. And and the TED talk is called The 30-Day Cold Water Challenge. And he literally talked about what you just said. He was having lunch with a friend of his, and he was complaining to his buddy He wants to start this business. He's got this idea, but he doesn't have the money. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have this. And
Mhm.
his friend said, "Okay, but why haven't you started the business?" And he said, "Did you not hear anything that I just said? It's because I don't have the money. I don't have the talent. I don't have the resources, blah blah." And he said, "I don't think that's your problem." He said, "I think your problem is you're not comfortable being uncomfortable." And he said, "I want to challenge you to do one thing." And he said, "I want you to go take cold showers for 30 days." And he said, "Because you're going to find out that the exact same reasons you just told me why you can't start a business will be the exact same reasons why you can't turn that faucet to cold. If you can overcome those objections in
Mhm.
30 days and don't quit, it'll change your life." And he said, "It changed my life. I started the business. Everything changed after that." That's the reason why I take cold showers every day. I have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. The Spartan soldiers would bathe in the rivers and the streams on purpose. They believed hot water made them weak, and it does. You know the whole Marcus Aurelius, amore fate, love your fate. He would tell his soldiers, "I don't care where you're at in the mud, you're getting rained on. Love it. Love it. Want more of it. You want more of it." It's that mind frame, man, of being comfortable being uncomfortable. I think
Mhm.
what you just said is so profound. And that's also a big reason why it's so difficult today because it's been beat in our brains, especially from Western civilization, about the newest thing, the most efficient thing, the faster thing, the more expensive thing, the shinier thing. It's all designed to make us a little bit more comfortable. And for me, that's the number one reason why I refuse to touch hot water because I'm so scared of being soft again. To do really difficult things requires a mindset that quite literally can't be broken. And so much of it has to do with what you just said, being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes, this is how successful people become successful because they do so many things which are uncomfortable behind the scenes. So people don't see that. People don't see their everyday commitments and what they do outside of their comfort zone. They just see the results when they become successful and they say, "Oh, that person is so lucky. Yes, he just is successful." But it is nothing like a luck. It is everything happening by the law, and your results are effect and you are the cause. So when you
Mm,
have big vision, when you are committed, when you are doing every day what is necessary, you become successful by the law.
hmm And it is a law, like the law of nature, you know, to Earl Nightingale with the strangest secret, to his point. What you become what you think about most of the day. That is that is the most profound thing that most people hear, but they don't understand. Because remember, I told you, which lens are you wearing, a red lens or a blue lens? You know, because you have to understand both lenses, that is a true reality. So, like, take this glass, it's like half full of coffee. Okay. So, is it half full or half empty? You're right. What did Henry Ford say? If you think it's hard or you think it's easy, you're right. Because how you see everything is the key to success. It's the key to everything. And individuals that the difficult thing is that most people walk through life with the red lens, which is the critical lens. Okay, spotting all of the things wrong in their life. And by the way, they're not wrong. That stuff is there. Okay, so it's not like they're a sociopath and they're making this up. They're not a sociopath. They're not a psychopath. They're not crazy. It's real. But if you walk through life with the blue lens, which is the lens of like gratitude and kindness, and you walk through life with the mindset of thank you and I love you. Like one of my favorite books, and it's tiny. This was years ago. It's called The Greatest Salesman by Og Mandino. And he there was one tiny thing that he said in there that it changed my life. And it was one little sentence, phrase of how he approached people. And it was so profound that I've just always done the same thing. And this is a part of that. Every person that you come in contact with, say this to yourself: to each whom I confront, I will approach and say only one thing. To myself and in secret, I will say, I love you. to everybody. It's just, I love you and I want you to suffer less. I don't know. It's just, if you kind of go through life like that, telling people thank you for making an impact in your life, you're able to see all of the miracles happening every day. The miracles of provision, they are there every day. But you can't see them if you're wearing the red lens. You just can't. You can't unless you're wearing this lens. You can't. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, to your point, I don't know. It's not difficult if you can see life through that particular lens, you know?
Yes, and as you said, many people don't know the true reason of their problem. They don't know. They think, oh, it is these things because why I can't do. But the reason is much deeper, as you just demonstrated from that story about the guy who couldn't start his business. Yes, people don't know. They think that, oh, this is something, but usually the cause is much deeper. That is why everyone really needs a mentor, somebody who see them the way they don't see themselves, because that mentor who have lenses already from that frequency or from that level where people want
Yeah.
to be. So
Did
he,
you ever watch that movie Meet the Parents, with Ben Stiller? Did you ever see that movie Meet the Parents? And so, okay, so it's just, you have to see it. It's hysterical, okay? And so, but he's basically meeting his fiance's family for the first time, and it's like, oh gosh, who's the guy? He's like a famous guy. Anyway, so the parents, okay, they have something, and the parents' names are the Falkers. Okay, so it's the Falker Circle of Trust. Okay, so once you get in the circle of trust, so and I say the same thing, like everybody, because all of us suffer from cognitive dissonance. All of us do. So, which means that literally, in its definition, whenever we're experiencing it, we can't see it happening to us, which is why we've got to have a circle of trust of people that we put in our life who are allowed to speak truth into our life. But I always have a rule: you have to approach me a certain way. Like, just do it out of peace and love and say, hey, peace and love, can we have a quick conversation? And what that does is it diffuses me so I don't get defensive, because, my circle of trust, I trust what they say more than what I see. And so I'm very big on that group of people having direct access to me, to make sure that I'm not walking blindly, in my own unself awareness. It's a very, very dangerous place to be, and I never want to be there. But to your point, you've got to have a group of people that hold you accountable. And I always say, even Tiger Woods needs a swing coach. The greatest golfer in the world needs a swing coach. Like, of all people, you'd think that he'd be the guy that figured out, I don't need a coach. No, all of us need a coach, because all of us lose our way. We're like automobiles that get used every day. We have to have oil changes. We have to have tune-ups. We've got to have the diagnostic checks. That is our group, accountability group. And all those years in ministry that I had, um, I was always a big believer in accountability in all areas of weakness. If you're not the person that can hold yourself accountable to going to the gym, fine, get a personal trainer. If you have a difficult time, watching your diet, cool, get a dietitian, somebody that a nutritionist that can hold you accountable. If your thing is, look, let's talk about porn. If your thing is porn and you can't stay off of that, okay, find somebody or software, something that holds you accountable, right? So it's just, if you can't stay away from ice cream, okay, find somebody to hold you accountable, right? It's the same thing. Just, if you can't do it on your own, but it's important to you, trust me. Remember, this dude over here wants you to fail. That 2-inch version of you wants you to fail. You don't want to feed that person. You want to feed this one over here, the one that wants you to succeed. Feed that person, you know? And you have to have that circle of trust until it becomes habit, until it becomes what Warren Buffett talks about, the chains of habit. Until the habits become too heavy to be broken, sometimes we need accountability to help us with that.
wow, such a powerful conversation we had. Aaron, I think that we can speak with you for
I
a
know, right?
I think we can go on and on and on, and still we have so much to cover. I really appreciate, and I think that we shall wrap up this episode because I
I
think
know, right?
more than 1 hour, and we can meet again and
I
speak.
can't wait. If I can, just to be able to plug the bike ride, if any of you guys want to check out what we're doing, You can go to ponzirelief.org, PONZIRELIEF.org. I always get the I and E mixed up. I'm dyslexic. And so, but it's ponzirelief.org. If you want to see about our accounting firm, that website is ibmsb.com. And if you want to kind of know about me, you can go check me out on YouTube, Aaron Novinger, the Venti business guy. I think it's Aaron underscore Novinger on X. And you'll see, man, I love small business. I love helping people, and I get to do that every day, and I just feel like the luckiest person alive. And I just appreciate you so much for giving me a platform to be able to share one of my heart projects to see if we can help a lot of these people affected by Ponzi schemes. And honestly, it's affected so many people that I'm sure just with the law of large numbers, your audience, there's people that have been affected. And so if you go to the website, you'll see the cause, the IRS form that we're trying to save. There's a petition that I have. I've got a letter to President Trump. So there's just things that I'm trying to get done here because I just feel that there's a big group of people that need a voice, that need an advocate. And I just thank you for giving me that opportunity to kind of give them a voice.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It was such a pleasure to have you, and you were such a beautiful, amazing guest. And we put all the information in description, so
Hmm,
people who would like to connect with you, they will find all the details. And
thank you.
forward to see you again, and we will have many other episodes
I
together.
can't wait, bro. It's going to be awesome. Thank you,
Yeah,
Elena. I appreciate you. You've been an amazing host, and I think we're going to help a lot of people.
I
Very
mean,
cool. Thank you so much. All right, we'll connect with you soon.
looking forward for
Uh,
that.